Wake up. You're having a nightmare.
My eyes blink open. Milky moonlight swims through the dusty blinds that cover the frost-encrusted window, searing my vision with a shadow, stinging my eyes. I blink away the reservoir of fresh tears that start to form, like rain, a storm on my face. My cheeks feel wet to touch, coated with the slick remnants of loss. Pillow saturated with grief. I've been crying in my sleep again. This has been happening a lot recently. The room is pitch black, other than the thin strand of moonlight which stretches through the crack in the blinds, like fingers reaching to grab a hold of me. Sometimes you just need to wrap yourself in midnight just to feel its darkness clinging tightly to your skin. Through the dim, shimmering light, I can just make out my surroundings. A small bedside table sits to my right. The alarm clock, blinking in the dark night, paints the air with a faint blue strobe light, making shadows dance to some unheard ghastly tune. Maybe the rhythm of my heartbeat giving its own deathly disco. Next to the alarm clock is a pile of books that I purchased from a charity shop, with all intentions of reading them, but I just have never found the right moment to start. Reading a new book is a big undertaking. You have to invest time, getting a feel for the characters and the world they inhabit. I've always loved being deep into a book, when you can picture every scene, but that time before is so daunting. Stories are important. Every life is a story. So many different chapters. I like to be able to feel every emotion from every word. They even sometimes seep into your dreams. But since Jenny, my dreams are a vastly different place, and my head is so noisy it's hard to embrace the words on a page. Over in the corner by the door is my old computer, at least 5 years out of date. I haven't turned it on in a long time. The Windows desktop photo is a picture of me and Jen having a meal together in a posh restaurant in town. Would have been one of our earliest dates. Too many memories stored there now. I mostly brought it to while away the hours playing Football Manager, but then me and Jen would always find something more fun to do. So now it just sits, gathering dust, a remnant of those magical times before. A stained coffee mug sits perched precariously on the edge of the computer desk. Furry mould has created a whole thriving ecosystem in there. I promise myself I'll remember to take it into the kitchen next time I head through there, along with the rest of the plates and food wrappers that have started to overtake the room. I'm not exactly what you would call house proud. There was a time that I'd keep everything clean, make sure everything was in its right place. But everything has its own order. I know instantly where I'll find anything I need. Chaotic order, Jenny used to call it. Though back then only my corner of the small shared flat was so chaotic. Jen made sure everything else was ordered and organised. We always made a good couple in that way. Our two opposite natures merged into one beautiful whole. She would manage tasks that I found overwhelming and vice versa. My clothes are just sort of scattered around the floor haphazardly. I've never really understood fashion. As long as it keeps me warm when it's cold or cools me in the heat, I'm happy. So they're mostly just different versions of jumpers and jeans, the odd shirt, and that's about it. Jen always seemed to have a better eye for these things than me, so she had control of that department. But now that it's just me here, I don't really feel the need. I'm not trying to impress anyone, and if I was, I'd probably fail miserably. I don't really have a conventional life. That doorway seems like it's been locked off to me. I was 29 when my world ended. I'm never going to be able to sleep again tonight, I think to myself. I never can do when I wake like this, when dreams sway through the cracks of reality, seeming so real when they cannot be. I stare at the ceiling, and it stares back into me, judging. Sweat, cold and clammy, hugs my skin like cling film, wrapped tight around my body, around my throat, constricting the air, causing me to feel I'm choking, making it hard to breathe. I clamber out of bed, across the dark, narrow hallway, into the dingy, grim bathroom. I pull the dangling cord. Click. The bright fluorescent light sears a shadow into my eyes. I blink and step across the cold tiled floor, shadow still blurring my vision. Cursing, not putting anything on my feet. The air is cooler in here and the sounds reverberate in an eerie echo, almost a whisper. You're having a nightmare. Those words ring through my head. That voice, so long dead, so long gone. I wish it was me instead. I run the taps, looking at the face in the wall-mounted mirror staring back. I barely recognise him. The features are not the ones I remember. They don't match the handful of photographs where I agreed to be in the picture. I splash crispy, chilly tap water over my face, washing the dried tears away. But the ghostly feeling still remains. Tears that never leave. It's like they are tattooed deep into the skin. A memory itching just beneath the tingling surface. A faint shimmer, a shadow of what once was. My mind is really messing with me today. I think as I pull the cord again, plunging the room into darkness. Just down the hallway, in my too small to be useful kitchen, I click the kettle on. I grab a large mug. World's best boyfriend, it proudly proclaims. I place it back in the dusty cupboard and take the Simpsons mug with a slightly chipped handle instead, Bart telling me to eat his shorts. I remember when the boyfriend mug was the only one I'd ever use, when the words emblazoned upon it would make me glow with pride. Now I can't even bring myself to hold it. It holds so much pain inside. The kettle bubbles, hisses loudly, click. I'm snapped back into the room in an instant. It's gonna be a late night. I may as well have a nice cup of tea to calm me and settle down. I put a tea bag in the mug, 2 sugars, and I pour the scalding hot water from the kettle. I just need to ride out the stormy thoughts for a few hours, batten down my hatches tight. I've done this a lot recently. I take the tea bag out of the steaming mug and I start to sip straight away. The only way to enjoy a cup of tea, it must be scorching hot. You have about a 5-minute window before it just becomes undrinkable. I can barely think at all Why does this always seem to happen after nightfall, when the darkness is all consuming and the silence is as thick as a heavy duvet or a funeral shawl? I was dreaming. Or was it a dream? It all felt so real. Sometimes I feel and see things that don't entirely make sense. I was dreaming. I must have been. The faint haze of recognition shows me a glimpse at the dream again, before it fades away into the ether, leaving me completely. That fateful day when I lost everything. I was there again. That wet summer night. I can feel the rain. The night when the world turned upside down, tore out my heart and replaced it with what? A shadow. I remember the argument all too well. Some memories fade like dreams. Others stick with you like you could open a door on them and walk right back into the scene. This one was always on constant replay around me, never left. Sometimes it sat in the background quietly, but it was always there, ready to take over the rest of my thoughts. It was always there beside me. It floated through my mind like a rubber dinghy on a vast open sea. I was still living within this memory, and this memory lived inside me. In this memory, we were side by side on that fateful car ride. The thoughts collide, headlights blinding my eyes, tension filled the air with thick silence. Silence that we couldn't bear. We took the corner too fast, I remember. Headlights and the world spinning. I remember that sound like wind rushing through metallic chamber. That awful grind like nails down a chalkboard. Blades against blades. A crash, thunder smashing directly into your eardrums. Then I remember darkness. A shadow. A figure. I heard her voice just now. I know this to be true. It's more than a feeling. You just know when you hear something and it's a remnant of a dream, a figment of the mind, a torn seam in the fabric of reality. It has a shimmering quality. This, however, was different. It felt solid. That's the only way to describe it. Solid. It was like someone was laying on the bed next to me, lips close to my ears, speaking softly. I could feel hot, moist breath tingling the skin. I could feel the echo of the words bouncing around inside my head. You don't get those feelings from a dream. Dreams can feel so real, but there is always a telltale sign. Something misaligned that triggers the alarms in your mind. Whereas reality is so much more vivid. You can sense the closeness of another person, like gravity is pulling you in. Dreams lack these little pieces of being human. I know I didn't imagine this, I'm sure, but I also know it can't be true. The sheer fact of the matter is she's been dead since that fateful day. Is this just a tired mind going astray, or something else entirely? I know there is something else. I know it isn't possible, but I know it's all real. Deep down in my soul I can feel it. The way it comes over me sometimes, like a tidal wave engulfing a city. It's like when I sit and I think, the memories are there, but they hide away, scurrying into the corners of my brain like shadows in the darkest night, barely visible until they are shown in the light. I miss her. I really miss her. It's like I've lost all purpose. A big part of what made me who I am has gone. People say it's like losing a limb, but it's so much more than that. I'd give an arm or a leg to have her back. It's deeper, tearing at your core. Every part of her made me happy, every memory, even the bad days. She was the flame to my candle. I have only been half a man since she's gone. The other half, a shadow. I was 29 when my world ended. Jenny was 25. We had met about 5 years earlier. We were in a bar. She said I looked like death. To be fair, I'd had more than my fair share of beer, and the room was spinning a little. But even in my drunken state, she saw something in me, and me in her. We swapped numbers, and the very next morning I called her. We met for some non-alcoholic drinks and some food, and over the coming weeks our hearts grew. She moved into my flat. All was perfect. I've never been very good with people. I struggle to talk. A wave of shyness washes over me. But with Jenny, it was like a calm ocean. She knew how to make sense of me, and I opened my heart for her to see. The chemistry was intense. Passionately, we devoured life, made every part of it ours. Nothing mattered as long as we were together, sharing our hearts. If she was really here, then I'd be able to say so many things. Tell her that I'd always loved and will always love her. Eternity meant eternity. I'd tell her that if I was her king, she was so much more than a queen. She was my goddess, every waking dream. I'd tell her that whatever she believed, she was the only living being who walked around in the world of my heart. I'd open up and explain that when I think of the moonlight and drift off, it's her that I see swaying in my eyes as the rest of the images fade into the night. That there never was anyone more beautiful, more stunning, and that even the sunlight was dull in comparison. But that's the thing. The dead do not come back. They don't sit and talk to you. All you have are empty thoughts, repeating over and over. Conversations you wish you could relive. You don't get to converse directly with the dead. Moments that you play back are just memories, like an old VHS videotape being rewound and replayed back over and over again, like a vinyl record skipping tracks. Stories that are there just to keep a hold of that one unique feeling, to help you process the loss. They never stop eating away at your head. It sometimes feels like a lifetime, others merely hours. But here's the thing. I said that my life is not conventional, and that really is an understatement. I know that more is happening beneath the surface. My life is like an ocean, and most of the time I can only see the waves, but deep underneath is a darkness and a place where others live. It just takes a lot to pry it all out. The more I try to think, the more I realise, the more I remember. See, I do see things, I do hear things that we could never explain with a scientific brain. Believe me, I've tried. I'm the most skeptical of people. I'm an atheist for a start, so trying to explain this next part really messes with my belief system.